Hello and welcome to the show. I'm Eric Murphy.
I'm Vila Bianca.
This is Skeptic Generation.
And we need to talk.
It is September 29th, 2021. It is our Quinceañera episode.
15 whole episodes.
Yeah, we're moving, man.
We are. And some fun stats. This is we are about a third of a year old.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yep.
Gee.
And
okay.
We are half done with season 1 because we started in May. Mm-hmm. We only have 17 episodes left in season 1, and then it'll be season 2. So
Starting
we're halfway
January
done.
1st.
Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Okay. You know what? This has kind of breathed new life into the format for me. This just the project and all of the energy that's going into it is really, really cool. I'm really, really excited about it. How was your week?
My week was good. On Friday, everybody from my work, my department, just got a party boat and just spent the whole workday on a lake, which was awesome because I work at the best place ever.
And everyone there is vaccinated.
And everyone there is vaxxed and ready for a good time. And yeah, it's great. So I've had a pretty good week. How about you?
Yay. It was really good. Really, really busy. I've been doing a lot of video editing.
Yeah, it's end of the month, so you're kind of swamped right now.
Yeah, definitely. Stay tuned though, because I do during my day job do editing and video work for Holy Kool-Aid, and there should be a video coming out soon, so that should be fun.
Yeah, you're really excited about this one too. There's a lot of really cool animation happening. Yeah. And it's good. It's good.
Definitely. It's been really, really fun kind of building those skills and learning how to do things in After Effects, and Premiere is something I've been growing a lot in. So anyway, that's probably more info than people want. But before we dive into calls, we do have a couple of regular announcements. If you want to talk to us, give us a call because, we do have a couple people on the line, but we'd really, really love to talk to you, especially if you're a believer, if you want to tell us what you believe and why, or argue with us about any of those things. We want to listen and we want to engage. So call 585-526-8774. That's 585-LaMurph. Or go to tiny.cc/callsg, and the capital S, capital G.
Is important.
It is.
For reasons. And honestly, we are going to be talking a little bit about a bunch of different stuff. If you are used to other shows that are very specifically religion focused, of course, we love that. We want to continue to build that. So if you are an atheist who is struggling with deconversion, or if you're a theist who has questions or maybe a beef with us, ideally, you would call in, and you are more than welcome to. But we also want to open this up to talk about skepticism in general, about a range of topics. So if you have any kind of thoughts around skepticism or lack thereof in your community,
or scientific progress,
right,
or things like the earth being round, or if you believe in chakras or anything like that, or crystal, if you think crystals can have memories or special abilities, please call and let us know how that works.
Absolutely. So we are open to a range of topics. Just make sure you're making a claim and asking us to weigh in on it.
That said, we are constantly doing, so if you want to know who's doing this show, whoever's in this seat is hosting.
Yep.
Whoever's in this seat is actively producing the entire show. So we take turns producing the entire show. We have an amazing group of volunteers who are call screening, who are in the live chat screening that, who are moderators on Discord and Facebook. And I mean, we sincerely appreciate all of you. But it takes a lot. We've been sitting and doing the books on how much this takes.
Oh boy, it's a lot, you guys.
so here's the deal. We're not going to sit and say, hey, please give us money. Instead, we want to give you things, and if you like it and you want to get cool stuff, there are ways to support us. Patreon is one of them. If you go to tiny.cc/donate to SG, it actually takes you to our Patreon, or you can go to patreon.com/skeptic generation. Essentially, if you become a patron, you can get access to ad-free versions of the show. You can get access to ad-free podcasts. We're going to be doing a bi-monthly group hangouts at a certain Patreon level, and actually not this upcoming Tuesday, but the following Tuesday, which is
September 7th.
Yep, September 7th. We're going to be doing our first senior hangout.
Yeah.
So if you want to come hang out with us. It's not going to be streamed. It's not going to be recorded. It's just going to be us hanging out on Discord together, spending that time, having one-on-one time. Go to patreon.com/skepticgeneration. And it helps us too.
It definitely helps us. Now that we've had a good idea of like exactly what it costs every week to do the show, the various platforms, the equipment, the set that we want to build, all of that, like we finally crunched the numbers. And another, I kind of had to sit back and be like, okay, deep breaths, don't panic.
No, but it's worth it. We absolutely love this. We absolutely love what we do, and we want to provide for you the best quality episodes. We've got so much in the works. This is not our end, set. And it's just going to take time, but we're growing and having a good time, and we can't wait for you to join us on the road if you want to see more about what's going on behind the scenes. And as we mark those milestones and all of that progress, those are also going out. You put together these amazing posts to our patrons that just explain things.
We want to make sure we're actually being transparent, giving you information about where the money goes, what we use it for, what we make off of certain things. So we just put together an entire kind of a report on our merch and exactly how much we're making, where that money is going, and you're investing in us, and we want to make sure that you have a good idea of how we're growing, what we're doing with the money, and just in general have that back end view of things to determine if you want to keep supporting us.
Or if you want to do this yourself. I mean, this is a great way to, it's one of the ways to kind of see how it works for others and set expectations. Or you can see if we're totally screwing something up and say, hey, there's a better way to do it. We'd appreciate it.
Please let us know if we're screwing something up.
But that said, are we ready to dive into calls?
Yeah, I think so. We've got a lot on the line and I'm super excited about it.
Oh my goodness, there are so many. Could we talk to Al?
Absolutely. There we go.
Is it Al or AI in Australia?
It's Al.
Hi, Al.
Hi. Welcome to the show.
How you going? Thank you. I'm a bit nervous. I'm wondering. I'm worrying. I'm a bit gonna fangirl a little bit. Massive fan.
Aw, yay.
Aw, no worries.
You're in good company.
Yeah.
What did you want to talk about today?
Yeah. I saw the thing about Sam Harris this morning on Twitter, and I've been wanting to ring up a while about, just the general subject of othering, and then I saw Sam Harris and my blood pressure went up, so I figured I'd call in.
Just to contextualize, do you want to let them know about what that tweet was?
Yeah, so this wasn't, to be fair, Sam did not tweet this out. This is something that somebody made, a little graphic of a quote of his that's been circulating. And essentially it says, if your identity is not just Homo sapiens at this point, you have a problem, and it's a problem for the rest of us. And to be fair, that's a quote that is part of a larger quote where he talks about, if I'm a Yankees fan and you're a Red Sox fan, then we can pretend to hate each other, but at the end of the day, we all have to get along. And there are a lot of issues that I have with it. I was very vocal about it a couple days ago on Twitter, but I'm really curious to hear your take on this, Al.
I didn't actually see what you said the other day about it on Twitter, but I'd had a look into, the likes of Sam Harris recently. There was an article not a while back about how the quote-unquote new atheism has gone to the far right.
Yes, I read that as well.
A couple of different opinions about that. Mm-hmm. And then I started looking into the intellectual dark web, and, because I had obviously initially been a fan of Sam Harris and Richard Dawkins, and oh my God, when their names are being mentioned in the same sentence as Jordan Peterson, I think they should be very, very worried. And I think a lot of people could take what he said in that particular tweet as, we're all humans, we're all just people, but I really don't think that's what he meant by it. I think there's undertones there where I think somebody, I should quote somebody that commented on that Twitter post, said that this isn't really embracing humanity, it's rejecting diversity.
I saw that. That was
my take.
Beautifully put, by the way. Whoever posted that underneath the Skeptic Gen post said, this sounds like it, but it is not a celebration of humanity, it's a rejection of diversity. And beautiful. I think that's beautifully put. But yeah, Al, I'm curious what your take on the whole, maybe Sam Harris Dawkins, some of these, relatively well-known figureheads of the atheist community kind of moving into that, maybe a more conservative direction. I don't want to be inflammatory here, but it sounds like they're kind of moving in a specific direction.
Yeah, I don't even know if they moved in that direction. I think they just didn't keep moving with the rest of us. I don't think they kept moving with the rest of the skeptics like us. Wanted me to put myself in the same group as you, but I don't think that they kept moving with the rest of society in the direction that it should go. I think they perhaps were always, for lack of a better word, bigoted.
Well, so let me play devil's advocate here, because if we're only talking about one side of a thing, I don't think that
absolutely
helps everybody.
Go for it.
So let's kind of explore that a little bit. I know that politically, V and I tend to be progressive, kind of liberal people in our lives, and that definitely intersects with what we view as how we should behave in society. And I know that most people who watch this show overlap, are atheists. There are conservative atheists.
Absolutely.
And them building their own community, I've got absolutely no problem with that. The thing is, I guess, are we viewing this as somebody trying to straddle both sides? Are we seeing this as a rejection of this person not being in the same kind of community that you're in? And if that's the case, at what point are we saying this person should be worried versus, okay, this is a conversation to have between two people who disagree about something? Like, where are the boundaries here?
I think for me, and Al, I'm curious about your thoughts on this as well. For me, it feels very much like I can disagree with you on a bunch of different topics, but if I can see that you actually got there through, real thought, real skepticism, actually connecting those dots and getting to a different conclusion. I don't think there's only one conclusion for every topic, right? We don't all come to the same conclusion if we reason properly. We can reason well and come to different conclusions. And in that situation, we absolutely can then have that conversation. And that's why I absolutely love some of the theists who call in, because you can tell they have done the work and done the research and actually come with a really beautiful package to present and be like, what do you think? And then we can have that discourse. When I see people like Jordan Peterson, like Sam Harris in this case, like Dawkins when it comes to trans issues, it's very clear to me that it's less of a we disagree on the science here and more of a one of us has not done sufficient research to live up to that reputation of being a skeptic. And when we see leaders in the community falling prey to that concept, Al, I think you put it really well of, oh, I've done my work. I can stop here. I don't need to continue to learn or grow because I know that I'm a skeptical human. Therefore, everything I think is skeptical. We all can fall prey to that. There are many members of the atheist community right now who are guilty of that.
Yeah, I've been not skeptical about things and not realized it and felt very, very personally attacked and then been like, oh, never mind.
Oh, wait, that was on me. Yeah. No, exactly. So that's what I target when I have these conversations, right? Yes, there's the arguments around, is it harmful to a demographic that's already oppressed? Is it properly representing skepticism? For me, if you're going to claim to be representative of the movement that I have dedicated my life to, I'm going to hold you to the standard of being good in that area. And if you're not, I'm going to tell you that I don't think you are.
Okay. That's
just my thoughts. Al, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I don't think this is going to be very interesting because I think we all agree.
I might not.
I just really...
But go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I kind of agreeing with you in terms of I don't think that the attitude, if you're not with me, you're against me, is productive. I think you can come together and find, even if you disagree, you can come together, find common ground, and then start talking about the things that you don't agree on and how you each came to that conclusion. I think pointing a finger in somebody else's direction and saying you are like this because this is what you think about this particular topic is counterproductive to skepticism and critical thinking.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess where I'm at is I think sometimes, and I'm not saying it's necessarily in this case, but I think it gets close, that we find ourselves kind of backing up against something that we also need to be very careful about, and that is assigning cause, or assigning, not cause, intent to actions. So this person's intent behind their actions was obviously malicious, and so we're going to go with that when it could just be something else. Like in this case, my thoughts are, I remember talking to a very, very conservative friend who was like, oh my gosh, all of these triggered liberals. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, let me show you. And he pulled out a video of this. It's an old video of this woman with red hair.
It's Big Red.
Big Red, yeah.
Yeah.
And this person has a nickname in the conservative circles, Big Red, who just screams and is a very, very poor communicator, and is being used as this kind of emblem, this example of liberals in general. And so I think it's called the nut picking fallacy.
Yeah.
And so I imagine that when I see those kinds of tweets, my very first thought is, okay, this person saw an interaction and is using that as evidence that is, a microcosm of the larger conversation. So definitely keeping context in mind is important. At least that's what I'm assuming for a lot of those interlocutors. But at the same time, I also want to bring up that we need to hold people accountable, right? If you see people say, oh, well, conservatives, the Republican Party's racist. It's like, okay, no, a lot of Republicans aren't racist. And okay, well, what are you doing about the Boogaloo Boys? Well, they're not us. They're, but it's standing up and calling out your own side and saying, hey, that's not okay, I think progresses things forward. So at the same time, while I do want to make sure that we're not assigning malice when there's not necessarily malice intended, calling people out, doing this is still damn important, because we need to make sure that we are holding ourselves, accountable to the standards that we want to set. Right.
And I think that the nuance there, because that was some nuance. I love it. Going a little bit deeper here and saying, when you present yourself as an authority in an area and you say something that is problematic and people call you out on it, it is your responsibility to either clarify what you mean or double down on it, or here's the deal. If I was Sam Harris and I was like, I am a leader in this community, people look up to me, people fanboy over me, frankly, right? And I put out these quotes, and this is a common thing with Sam specifically. If you want more information on that, I highly recommend T1J's video on Sam Harris specifically. It's beautifully done. But he does this where he throws out these things that are very vague and can incite a lot of bad ideas, and then just leaves it. And people will be upset, rightfully so a lot of the time, and possibly even assigning motive, which we shouldn't do. And instead of saying, oh, no, this is what I meant, or this is the larger context, or no, actually, I fully agree with this part, this is where I differ.
Yeah.
He doesn't do that. He just leaves it.
No, you're just lighting a match so that things can burn. The Tucker Carlson approach.
Right. And it's the same with a lot of what Dawkins has been doing, right? If he really was worried about certain things, he would have addressed those things unless they accurately represented his position. And then he'd be like, I suggested a thing, people got the right idea from it, I'm just going to leave it at that. So the issue for me is that at a certain point, lack of intent doesn't matter as much as the impact. And if you are not aware of the impact or you don't care about the impact, that is not using your platform wisely. But we have so many calls.
Okay.
Have you seen
Holy crap.
the number of calls that we have on the line right now?
Sorry, I did not realize that. Hey, AI, or Al, For some reason, I'm having... Al, thank you for calling in. We really appreciate it, and hopefully this was an interesting conversation. I know it was for me. I could seriously wax like philosophical.
No, this could literally be the entire call, which is why I'm like, oh, maybe if we do have a Discord after show, I would love to continue this conversation. Or if you guys are senior patrons, you can come in a week or two, and we can actually have this conversation in a larger way on that chat.
It's going to be totally up to those patrons, not this upcoming Tuesday, but the Tuesday after.
September 7th.
September 7th.
All right. Thank you so much, Al. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye. I really want to see the conversation about, where those things cross over, what our responsibility should be versus what is, because one of the other things I hate is I'll see YouTubers who totally get outside of their lane.
Yeah.
And it's like, stay in your lane, dude. Like you've got a lot to say that's really important. Why are you even chiming in?
Yeah.
Are we doing that? Let us know in the comments.
Right.
All right. You ready to talk to Mac?
Absolutely.
All right. Mac. Oh, in California.
Hey. Hey guys, congratulations. Good to talk to you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good to talk to you. What would you like to talk about today? Yeah.
Well, why don't I thought we could maybe springboard off our last conversation where we left off. I think we got to the point where you kind of said you ended up in absurdism. I don't know. Do you remember the conversation? You remember my voice and what we talked about, or
so
not? I can go.
It sounds super familiar, but it's good to just kind of recap either way, just so that people who are joining us today can follow
actually,
as well.
So I called in and I gave you an argument from consciousness, and it had subjective experience in the premises and what was relevant to human experience, and it was set up as a syllogism, and we, from that, it kind of left us with an underdetermined conclusion. So, do you remember the conversation or no?
A little bit.
I can give you. I'll put it in summary form, because I don't want to give you a deductive argument, a bunch of things, because we know where those are going to go. I'm pretty, I'm going to assume that we have the same knowledge base in terms of,
philosophy
and science.
Cool.
And if we don't, we can correct that.
Cool.
But so I want to keep this. I'm an empiricist, scientific mindset, fallibilist in my epistemology.
You're a scientist?
But I'm also.
Are you a professional scientist? What do you do professionally?
No. I'm a I have under degree in engineering and linguistics, but not much beyond that. I'm thinking about getting a master's, but I haven't really decided on it yet.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
So basically, what we came down to is, possibly there, and I think V even said, well, I think maybe she shifted away from it, but at one point she thought it might be possible that there's some like vague nebulous something that was the cause of everything, and etc. So basically, what I wanted to do, rather than give you that argument, is just think of a possibility space for a universal mind to be in contact with our human consciousness.
Got it. I can't.
So this is going to be an object. Go ahead. Yeah.
I actually can't.
Okay. Yeah. So that's exactly why I called. So what I want to, I don't know if you've heard of Bernardo Kastrup.
Nope.
Or Donald Hoffman.
Nope.
They prevent.
Here's the reason why, Mac. Yeah. So I'm thinking really hard, and I'm trying to send you a message with my mind.
Sure.
Are you getting it?
No, but I can see. You understand physics on some level, right? Just like we all do, kind of from YouTube or whatever.
I do. Let me finish the thought really quick, and then I'll let you bounce back, because I know you know what I'm saying, but I want to finish that out. Right? I need a mouth to speak. You need ears to hear. Right? If we're going to communicate this way, it takes more than the existence of our mind. It also takes our brain for our mind to, quote unquote, live in, right? It takes our central nervous system. It takes all of these different things for that communication to happen. Now, there are different ways that we can communicate, and there are different ways that different creatures communicate. But in this instance, we're talking. So if you are saying, can you create this idea that there is some cosmic mind that's interacting or communicating, my first thought is, number one, there can't be a mind without a brain, just period. So you would now need to be putting me into a place where I'm imagining some brain in space. But then if that brain is not connected to a mouth or a set of eyes or anything to communicate, then it is a very, very, very lonely brain. So each of those steps along the way, though, make it impossible for me to move forward in your scenario.
Okay, great. Yeah, perfect. So this is throw that paradigm out. We're not arguing for like a Boltzmann brain popping into existence at the beginning of time. Cool. That's not what we're talking about.
Okay.
So what I'm talking about, it's called analytic idealism, and it's also called like objective idealism, because it's taking out that anthropomorphic subjective consciousness that we think of when we think of ourselves as a unity of identity inside of our minds.
Okay,
so that concept. It's not personal in the sense that you and I are talking. It's not going to be able to. Yeah.
Oh no! I just want to clarify. So it sounds like you're throwing out the God concept, or at least the Christian God concept, or any God concept that I might understand. And we're just going with some generic. No. Oh, then I guess we have to keep some of that baggage, right?
Yeah. So. Okay, let me give it to you. Can I give it to you in philosophical terms, and then we can just kind of like express it in more colloquial language that it'll make more sense.
Yes,
you'll probably understand what I'm saying. So
sure, yes.
It basically, we're trying to.
Mac, I want to give you the floor. I just want to clarify, because after doing this enough times, I know that I've given the floor to some people who will take like 10 minutes. And just like keep going unless you jump in. So I want to give you the floor, and I just want you to be reasonable with it, okay?
Yeah, no, I'm trying to give you a summary of the abstract of the argument, basically, okay?
Okay.
So it's not an argument, but it's a thesis, okay? So think of it in terms of modern analytic philosophy and the ontology of idealism. Basically, it says that phenomenal consciousness is fundamental. It's like an ontic reality, but not in the sense that our brains, are this 400 trillion neural connections quantum computer that's able to make this conversation possible. But think of it more like in terms of Schopenhauer, if you've read him, and his concept of kind of like will, kind of like a basic underlying ontic reality that could exist on a quantum level.
Well,
yeah,
so let's break that down.
Yeah.
Let's break that down just slightly. Yeah. You're using a lot of terminology that I want to break down so people can follow with us. So what Mac is saying, and Mac, I'm going to try and say this in other words, and you can let me know if I'm correct in saying this. You're pointing towards the mind and saying that it's just a brute fact, it exists, right? And when you're talking about ontological, right, that is the sphere of things that exist. And so our consciousness is being conscious, or a
conscious eye.
Yeah, right. Our minds exist, and so you're moving forward in this idea that a mind is something that exists, and then you're providing evidence for that. The first thing you said, and then I interrupted you, but the first thing that you said is willpower. Or will, sorry. And then you also mentioned quantum a couple of times. And just so you know, the word quantum is a red flag every time it pops up. Because if you're talking...
Yeah, I know. I got you.
If you're talking about quanta, or if you're talking about subatomic particles...
discrete bits of energy in light that can be coming in two different forms, but think of it in terms of.
But I don't think a mind can be broken down to quanta.
No, I got you. But what I'm trying to do here, just for yourself and your audience, and just as a possibility, okay, what I'm presenting is a picture of reality that's compatible with all the scientific models, but yet still gives you avenue towards something. I'm not saying it proves Christianity or anything like that. What I'm saying is it's the hard problem of consciousness, okay? It's that, why is there this emergent jump that happens, from the physical to the conscious, from the objective to the subjective. It's that gap. So the hard problem is trying to bridge that, and this thesis is one way of doing it. It's Donald Hoffman and Kastrup are the two main promoters of it. But basically, think of it in terms of an analogy that the one that Kastrup uses is we're like think you're in a plane in a storm and it's dark, and you're in this plane. Your body is like the dashboard of that plane as it interacts with the physical reality not on the Newtonian physical level that we see as our empirical evidence, but we're interacting with this underlying substance that could be related to the fundamental quantum monism that could come up through a theory of everything. So I know it's a lot there, and there is
quite a bit.
Think of it in terms of real physics.
So can I jump in real quick, Mac? So I'm looking this up as you two are talking, trying to find like a summary that I can read out so that everybody kind of has this idea, this central point. Can I read you what I found on, I think it's a Bernardo Kastrup talk that he was giving, and they kind of give a little bit of an overview of what he believes.
Yeah, that would be great.
Great. Okay. So his theory essentially attempts to offer more explanatory power than both physicalism and bottom-up panpsychism, in that it does not fall prey to either the hard problem of consciousness, like you were talking about, Mac, or the subject combination problem, which is the challenge of deducing higher levels of consciousness from lower ones. It can be summarized as follows. Spatially unbound consciousness is posited to be the only ontological reality, the ultimate nature of everything. We, as well as all other living organisms, are dissociated alters of this unbound consciousness, similar to what happens in multiple personality disorders.
Mac, is that what you believe? Is that what you're
Does that
positing?
sound accurate to you?
Yeah, I agree with you. I understand why you find it comedic.
Well, no, I don't find it comedic, though.
I
Here's the deal. I don't find it comedic. I find it to be just begging the question, essentially, right? Like, if we were to say, yes, okay, well, I can agree that the consciousness is a brute fact, the only ontological reality, then sure, we can have the philosophical conversation that gets us to this concept. But we first have to ask, why are we accepting this brute fact in the first place? What research has Kastrup or anybody else done in order to determine that there is only one ontological reality, and that is this ultimate spatial consciousness?
Great question. So all I can do is, and I hate to do this, but I've read some of their papers, and not Kastrup, but Hoffman's actually working on a mathematical model to tie it in to physics and quantum theory and everything. But you laugh at that whole idea, but you look at Penrose, who just won the Nobel in physics, and he's the one that postulated ORC. Microtubule.
Let's clarify. Hold on, just a second. You brought up somebody who was a Nobel Prize winner in physics, right? What are their bona fides on talking about ontology specifically, or specific types of philosophy? Because you can have somebody who's brilliant talking about something. Earlier we were just talking about staying in your lane. You can have someone who's brilliant in topic A and absolutely terrible in topic B. And that may not be true for the person you're talking about. They could be amazing, but it doesn't really give any weight to it when you bring that up, because... Well, actually, when you think of it in terms of Penrose and Hamerhoff, who came up with ORC, you've got like the brilliant physicist, and you've got a brilliant medical science, a doctor of medicine that deals closely with the brain and how it relates to consciousness. So, they're experts in their field, but you can't appeal to them as, it's like Einstein, promoting general special relativity back when he did, and the consensus was against him. So, or Newton, or Newton promoting alchemy. It's
no. See, that's where we part ways, because
no. You have somebody who's a giant in their field, who's talking about something that, because you have a lot of respect for them, you go, oh, well,
you're talking about Newton. Yeah, you're talking about Newton, but think about it, okay? if Newton had quantum theory?
No, let's
he probably already given us a totem by now.
But Mac, we're that doesn't address my concern. But let's take a step back because there's a whole lot there. Mac, all I have right now is an image of, have you seen the movie Cars or any of the Cars movies by, was it Disney Pixar?
Yep.
I've caught glimpses of them, yeah, I think.
Yeah.
It's okay. You can admit to watching Pixar movies. We all do it.
Yeah. For some reason, I've just got this mental image of them arguing about whether or not drivers exist. And
well, I mean, that would be a valid argument in that world.
And then turning around and saying only drivers exist. And it's just, I really want to.
I got you.
Yeah, I really want to point to the fact that it feels like what we're separating on is you're saying that consciousness exists outside of the body. And for people who are following along, that creates a groundwork for people to say that they believe in a soul. And you go from there.
Well, you could, people...
Well,
can I break in real quick?
Yeah, I'm just trying to explain it to the viewer. If I'm not representing you well, I do not want to leave you as a straw man. So clarify, please.
Yeah, well, you're talking about subjective idealism or Christian idealism, kind of like inspiring philosophy, who has admittedly kind of a fringe theory with some of the things he talks about, especially the simulation. But that's a metaphor too. So. It's all conjectural at this point, but for me, this is the important part, okay? So it always comes down to subjective experience, and we get all of our data points from our senses, the peripatetic axioms of that come into our mind and start working that way. So ultimately, and you're not going to agree to this, but I believe that ultimately, I mean, we're going to accept I am that I am, therefore I think, or I think, therefore I am, however you want to look at that. So we're going to
those are very different statements, though.
Yeah.
Okay, wait, hold on. Yeah, no, you're right. Let's not get too exacting. There's going to be breaks in logic in the conversation. That doesn't matter. We want to just get a big picture.
Actually, it does matter. I think you only got there because of breaks in logic. But Mac,
yeah.
Mac,
okay. If I can't get my idea out, then it's pointless.
Oh, go ahead.
Some of these ideas require a longer chain of thought. But I'll just sum it up like this, okay? Because subjective experiences are only means to veridical truth. Agreed?
There's that word again. That word keeps popping up, and it just means ultimate. Like, just say ultimate.
Truth?
What I'm saying is our individual minds are the only way that we come to any knowledge of facts or any true beliefs at all. That's a given, right? I mean, that's just trivial fact of life.
I mean, for the most part, yeah.
Okay.
And so all I'm saying, So all I'm saying from there is, you have to interpret your own personal experiences in light of the possibilities. And for me, I've had different levels of consciousness. This theory, all it predicts is that, we are like projections of this universal mind.
Right,
and then when we die, it doesn't even predict that. It's kind of like the Buddhist theory where your whole consciousness dissociates into the universe.
So Mac, I'm going to be excited.
Yeah, okay, we can. It's getting out. You probably heard it before. I'm sure someone's called in about analytic idealism before.
Well, so here's the deal, Mac. Number one, we're going to be doing this for many years, and I guarantee you, people are going to call and say, "Look at the trees from now until the end of time." And so the fact that we've talked,
but you know what my rebuttal is?
The fact that
we've look at the non-causal closure.
Mac.
Wait.
No, hold on. Mac, the point that I'm making...
Mac is muted for a moment.
Okay, Mac, the point that I'm making is that it's okay that you called in about something that we have heard before. That's it. That's all I wanted to say, and then I wanted to kind of lead out. But that's it. You're back off of mute.
Okay, you're back.
That's all. No, that's okay. You're excited. And here's the thing, man.
Because when you get to the end of the discussion is when the critical stuff starts coming out, and where you really want to try to.
So here's how we're going to move forward. Here's how we're going to move forward. First, V is going to say something.
I agree that the end of the conversation, that conclusion is where a lot of the meat is. But the thing is, we can't get there in one call, especially if we disagree on certain premises that are crucial to getting there in the first place. So I understand that it makes sense to be like, well, here's the whole argument. And if we don't get to the end, then I don't get all of my points.
And it's just getting good.
And I get that. And it is getting good. And you should call back and talk more about this with us. But we need to focus on the individual premises. And that first one, that's a biggie. That's a big premise that we need to break down. And that's where I find a lot of this interest and a lot of this curiosity from.
Well, here, I mean, what I'm really excited about, Mac, is first thing that you did right is you called in early so that we can make sure we had time to talk to you this much. We sincerely appreciate it. Next time you call in early again, because that means that we can give you priority. Number two, the language that you're using, the point of this show, like, I hope you understand, we don't have this show necessarily because we think we're going to convince the callers. No. We're having this show so that people can view these conversations in a safe way and engage with these ideas. But if we're getting really, really, really deep and we're talking over people's heads, then a lot of the point of why we have the show is lost. So I think it is our goal that to show that we can have these conversations, interesting conversations, and you don't need to have a master's degree in order to understand it. And so when you dive in with a lot of really, really big words, my first response is, let me break that down into ways that other people can follow along. And if we're doing that, the conversation's going to go much slower. And so if we want to get, so if we want to get through to the end, given the nature and the way that this show works, that's what we're going to need to do. We're going to need to be able to break it down a lot lower so that we can have the conversation for everybody to have with us. Sound good?
I agree with you, Eric.
Cool,
so
man.
My final comment is just, and it was great to talk to you guys again, and congratulations.
Thank you, by the way. When you watch the video,
it brings a smile to my face when I think about you guys. That's awesome.
This one.
The final thought is just in terms of naturalism and physicalism and the idea of causal closure. There's a thing called Hempel's dilemma, and it's about how our physical theories or theories, scientific theories in general, are always undetermined. And that's, science presents them that way. It's called Hempel's dilemma, and that applies to naturalism. That applies to naturalism just as much as it does to any other.
Okay, we're gonna have to pick up the next time. We have Mac. This is like birthday time for us. We're looking at a bunch of really amazing calls in the queue, and I want to make sure that we have time for them.
Go for it.
Thank you for calling in, brother. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's a great day, guys.
All right.
All right, you guys, here's the deal. There are some weeks where we have maybe 5 callers total. And so we do have a little bit more time to do lengthy calls, dive into a little bit more of the nuance. And we love that format. We also want to make sure that everybody who calls in, or as many as possible, get a chance to talk with us. So if there is a week where we have more callers, the calls might be a little bit shorter in length, but that doesn't mean that we don't like you. That doesn't mean you didn't call in with a great question. That just means we want to be considerate to everybody on the line.
And it also means that if we don't get to you, please don't hate us, understand, contextualize that
we still love you.
Yeah, we're not going to be able to get to everybody this week. That said, we really do want to talk to Brandon in Arizona. Brandon, how's it going, man?
I'm good, and yourself?
Dude, the caffeine is kicking in. I'm engaged to an amazing human being doing a show that I absolutely love. I'm ready, man. What do you got?
Nice. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Anyhow, that's the topic up to you guys as far as, we can either talk about, Satan's DNA or who controls our public education system.
Well, it does look like the crew, in parentheses here, has voted for Satan's DNA. So...
All right. So,
what?
This is a topic you're never going to hear in any church. But this is, when I study scripture, this is, I'm seeing this as far as there's some details that have been left out because, God's not writing a penthouse forum letter here. But,
whoa, have you read Song of Solomon?
Have I read the Song of Solomon? Yes.
Yeah,
of course.
There's your penthouse letter.
I've read the Bible probably, every day for over a decade. So, I'm probably in the ballpark of like around 700 times cover to cover.
So okay. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Satan's DNA. You've got a lot of ground to cover.
I think it is actually here or there. Like, I think that if you've read the Bible 700 times, of course you're going to want to start finding new interesting stuff to talk about because,
Anyway, Brandon, what the hell is Satan's DNA?
Yeah, let's get into it.
Is it like a new soft drink you came up with?
Just real quick though, because arguing with a lot of atheists and stuff like that on different forums, it just drives me crazy when people go, you believe the Bible because of talking snakes. And, in Matthew 23:33, when Jesus says, ye serpents, ye generations of vipers, how can you escape the damnation of hell? He's not yelling at a bunch of talking snakes.
So you think that the serpent in Genesis is also a metaphor?
I think that you like, have you ever met somebody that you go, that dude is a snake?
Yes.
Okay. So that's why, it's ridiculous when I hear people talking snakes, and it's stupid. But anyways, so, my opinion is when I look at the Bible, there's a problem, when God says to the serpent, to Satan, that, I'm going to sow enmity between your seed and the woman's seed, and seed it represents DNA all throughout the Bible.
Does
so,
it?
Something here. Yeah.
Like when the seeds fall on like ground that is not conducive to growing faith, that's a representation of DNA.
Or what about Onan when he spills his seed? I'm pretty sure they're talking about his baby butter. Baby gravy.
Well,
semen.
You can study it out for yourself, but oftentimes, the one guy God killed because he let his, he married his brother's wife that, his brother died and he married his wife, but he kept, he basically, I hate to sound crude, but he was pulling out and, dropping his seed on the floor.
His DNA. His DNA or his semen?
Well, it's your DNA is in semen, of course.
Yeah,
so
but that's a stretch. That's a stretch, and I think even you would admit you could acknowledge that.
You can study it out yourself. I'm just telling you. That's there's. We can go on and on about that. But I want to get to my point.
Your point is,
as far as
sure,
that basically, in my opinion, I believe that when Satan came and tempted Eve, that something more went on there. As far as, I personally think that Satan basically seduced Eve because he said that the serpent beguiled her. That means to enchant or put under a spell, basically. And, I think he was, having sex with Eve, and Adam was standing there going, wow, this is turning me on. And then you also have, the fallen angels are referred to as the Watchers. And I think this is where they watch that whole scene, and everybody's going, "Damn, this is kind of hot."
So there's your penthouse letter.
This is arousing.
So wait, so this is essentially cuckoldry. So we're fucked as a society because Adam was a cuck.
There's your thumbnail.
As far as I sure think that how did Satan's seed, which is also showing that angels do have DNA. But, how did Satan's seed wind up in Eve? So and then you have...
Okay.
Sorry.
No. It's totally okay. So you do realize that we don't think any of that happened.
Oh, I get it. Yeah.
Okay.
This is why I constantly say to you... Yeah.
Well,
this is why I always say to you... From the believer's perspective, God showed up. He proved that he's real. So what are we arguing about here?
We're arguing about whether or not that's true.
Well, that's I agree.
Hey, do you, Brandon? Because in the Muslim faith, and I've brought it up before. You have the Prophet Muhammad splitting the moon in half and putting it back together. So, according to the believers, obviously,
yourself.
Well, no, hold on. According to the believers, God showed up. So, what is there to argue about? Why aren't you Muslim?
Well, just so you know, the Catholic Church started Islam, and you can research this out.
Don't care
I feel
the
like
argument right now because that is so far off base. I'm asking you why you're not Muslim. I just gave you a perfectly good reason.
Because they deny Jesus, their prophet. They consider it a blessing for their prophet to come and lick your little boy's mouth inside his mouth.
Brandon,
I have a
Brandon.
problem.
That's tough shit.
Wait, you're saying that the entire universe is a problem because the angels and the demons and Adam watched Satan fuck Eve, and you think that you can point at another book and be like, well, that's just gross.
Yeah, and the fact that something is gross doesn't make it untrue.
Right.
Otherwise, the Holocaust never happened because that's terrible.
God. Oh my
right?
God, this is amazing.
Like, that is horrible reasoning, Brandon. That's not a good reason. You gave me a bad reason. Do you have a better reason why you're not a Muslim?
Straight up. I believe that Jesus Christ was telling the truth about his claims.
Okay, why don't you? Why don't you believe the Quran?
Because I've read a lot of it, and it's just garbage. You know what I mean?
I think the Bible's garbage. So now we're on the same footing. And now that we're on the same footing, I want to put that back to what you said. You said, according to believers, God showed up. And so there you go. What are we arguing about?
I'm talking about believers in Jesus Christ.
I'm talking about belief in general because I think all of it's the same flavor of bullshit. Well, maybe different flavors, but it's still bullshit. So let's take a look, and I'm trying to point out to you why what you're saying isn't landing with us. I'm putting it in other contexts so that you can be in our shoes and take a look at the same kind of reasoning and argumentation that you're providing and see whether or not that reasoning is even convincing for you.
I mean, to be fair, I have a feeling that our atheism is not the main problem here. And even a lot of believers in Jesus would have a lot of weird feels about the claims that you just made about Genesis.
Oh, yeah, believe me. A lot of church folk would be, this will twist that melon. But I'm just saying, as far as...
So I think we've actually had a similar conversation about this kind of thing before, Brandon, which is like, why, if everybody that you're talking to, even people who have done the same kinds of research as you and read the same book and have the same beliefs are all saying, hey, Brandon, time out. Like, let's talk about this because this feels off. Why are you so convinced that you are right about this? Because it feels like everybody else is wrong. And when you're the only right person, there should be a little bit of a red flag going up.
Oh, well, there's other, King James Bible believers that do agree with me. So, but, we have a big problem with all of these different versions of Bible and stuff like that. But, that's a whole nother topic that we don't need to get into.
Yeah, that's for an economics class.
So hold on a second. I don't like your response to V. I'd love for you to respond a little bit more. You said that there are plenty of people who agree with you. I think there are probably how many million Muslims who agree with them. So obviously that doesn't make belief more true.
Well, okay, real quick, let's just put the Islam thing to rest, okay? You can't show me one single prophecy in the Quran. They have nothing to back up their claim.
You can't show me a single prophecy from the Bible. You have nothing to back up your claims.
I have. There's tons of proof.
And Muslims would say the same thing about their book.
Because if the prophecy and its fulfillment is in the same book,
I can show you.
Show us.
I can show you.
Show us. I'm holding a Bible right now, and I don't want to open this Bible.
Daniel,
I want you to show me a prophecy.
9.
I don't care.
Daniel chapter 9.
Daniel.
The 70 weeks of Daniel.
No. So Brandon, according to the Harry Potter universe, what's the specific prophecy about how Harry Potter is going to kill Voldemort? What's the
boy who lived? I don't know. I never read the books.
There's an entire prophecy that is fulfilled.
Harry Potter, the real world event.
Good difference. So, tracing to real world events. Show me.
That you can prove from outside of the Bible in historical fact.
Show me one.
That these.
One. Go for it.
Daniel chapter 9.
Daniel chapter 9.
The 70 weeks of Daniel. The angel Gabriel comes to Daniel and says, in exactly 469 weeks.
Oh, you called about this one before.
Years.
Cool. Okay, so how can we verify that an angel came down? What is an angel? What do they look like? Who verified it? And where's our extra biblical proof? You said there's extra biblical proof.
See, now we're going to go down a different rabbit trail.
No, we're going down the same one. I'm just holding you to that. No. We're going down it a piece at a time. So where is the extra biblical evidence of angels? Any of them, ever. Not even just then. I don't know, maybe they all just kind of drank the Kool-Aid and just died at some point, and that's why we don't see them anymore. But what is the evidence that angels exist, period?
Let's say this then, okay, to get off the angel topic, because I'm not going to sit here and try to prove to you that angels exist.
Wait. You called in to talk about Satan's DNA and how that proves that celestial beings like angels have DNA, but you don't want to talk about whether or not angels exist?
I mean, that's
well,
yeah.
I don't.
Don't you think that would help? Don't you think that proving angels existed would help your case in trying to tell us about Satan's DNA?
Just to clarify, the reason why I'm talking about Satan, we have Satan's DNA in us, is because, this is where the whole, why we just naturally sin, why we have this huge problem in our flesh.
That's a problem that I don't think exists.
Yeah, I'm not convinced that's a problem.
I think that's.
Are you going to blame Satan's DNA for the fact that we don't think that's a problem?
I think the Bible's correct when it says that the little g god of this world has blinded the minds of those, because, Satan preys on our little fevered egos and feeds the little me monster in all of us.
The little fevered egos, I want that to be a band. Can someone make that a band?
Well, no, so Brandon, what you just said, right there, what that does is that invalidates us because of non-good reasons, right?
It's essentially unfalsifiable. If you are right and we can't determine whether or not you are right because we have been blinded because you're right, that doesn't make for a convincing argument, because in order to accept the fact that you are right, we would have to first accept the fact that you are right, and we're not going to do that because you haven't proven anything. So it's kind of useless.
And also to imply that our pride and egos are getting in the way of our reasoning, when the fact is you're not giving good reasoning.
I'm included.
I don't care.
Yeah, I'm included.
Cool, then you can talk shit about yourself. Don't do it to me.
Okay, but here's the thing, though. As far as, you want me to provide evidence.
Yes. Provide evidence of angels. Go ahead.
But here's the problem.
Oh, I don't want a problem. I want evidence of angels.
But I got to state the problem. You know what I mean? As far as you want evidence, but here's the problem. You've put on your little rose-colored glasses.
Bullshit, Brandon. Try again. No, you're doing it. You're invalidating us instead of giving evidence. Quit trying to shove it back at us and say, no, Brandon, you said there's evidence of prophecy. We can verify it outside of the Bible. The first one you went to, you have an angel coming down to earth. I said, okay, where's the extra biblical evidence that you said exists? Oh, well, the problem is your rose-colored glasses. Fuck that, Brandon. Try again. If that's not a good prophecy, pick another one. But you said that there's prophecy that we can verify outside of the Bible.
Talk without you interrupting me, and I'll go.
If it's going to include you just don't want to see it, I'm going to interrupt you.
That's a good rule.
Well, okay, so here it is. You don't want to believe that there's such a thing as hell and all of that, and a lot of people do that.
So, Brandon, you're welcome to call in again. I said specifically, you will not be interrupted if you don't say you just don't want to believe. And the very first words out of your mouth were you don't want to believe. So you have disinvited yourself from the rest of today's conversation. I would love for you to show evidence other than name calling and say, well, you just don't want to. Bullshit. Evidence is evidence. I can show you evidence of a thing outside of my, without having to say, oh, well, you are just motivated by bad reasoning. No, bullshit. I'm going to give you the evidence and you can evaluate it. You said that there exists evidence outside of the Bible for biblical prophecy, and the very first thing you the very first example you gave is one that you could not provide evidence for. And so instead of saying, you know what, Eric, that was probably a bad example. Instead, you went on the attack because you didn't have, you couldn't put your money where your mouth was. Find a prophecy that's outside of the Bible that validates prophecy in the Bible, and we can go from there. And then we can see if that prophecy, maybe there is one. Maybe there is one. Cool. Like if you have one prophecy right out of 200, does that mean that you can rely on the Bible? Does every prophecy have to be right? How do we validate those things? That's really damn important. And if the response is you don't want to believe, you don't get to sit at the grown-up table.
So a couple of additional things. We had to let a whole lot slide in that call in order to get to the meat of what he was trying to call in about. We get that there was a whole lot more that we could have stopped him on and been like, hold on, Brandon, what about this thing? But I wanted to hear more about Satan's DNA. And can you blame me? Can you blame me for that?
V, what will happen is when he calls back, I got heated. We'll put the camera on you. I'll go get a glass of water. I'll mute myself, and I will give you the time with Brandon because I did not give you any. I totally stole that.
That's okay. Last time Brandon called in, I think that I was a little too hard for him. So, also, just FYI, there's nothing really wrong with cuckoldry. Throwback to that other show I used to do on Thursdays. If that's a valid thing that you like to do and everybody's consenting and that turns you on, that's awesome. You should continue to do that.
I know I've told you before. It's the saddest thing. I imagine somebody, really got their life figured out and they're just like, I really love to be cucked. This is the thing that's going to get cut, by the way. And that is the thing that I want to do. And they're just like, yeah. And they wake up and they brush their teeth and they go to work and they're fantastic. And then they go online and that's getting used as a pejorative. And they're just like, oh man. Yeah, I can't help but imagine that. It's way too funny.
Finally, I do want to say before we move on, and we do have other calls. In fact, I would love to go a little long to make sure we get to at least most of these calls because we have so many amazing ones on the line.
True. You want to pick the next one?
Sure. Real quick though, if you are, I'm gonna do this for a minute.
Ooh.
Here's a PSA for everybody out there. If you are reading the Bible every day for the entirety of your life to the point where you have read it 700 times and that's where you're getting your cuckold porn from, you can just go and look up some cuckold porn. Like, that's fine. Like, go read a porno. That's fun. It's good. It's probably healthier than trying to find it in 2 passages in Genesis after your 700th reading. Okay, just a thought for y'all. Just a little thought there.
All right, let's move on to the next caller. Do you have somebody?
I do. I think I'd love to talk with Felipe in Brazil.
Ooh. Felipe, you're live with Eric and V. What would you like to talk about today?
Oh, hi guys. First
Hello.
of all, congratulations. It's so good to talk to you.
Thank you.
Well, I'd like to talk today about the bizarre state that things are here in Brazil regarding religion.
Mm-hmm.
And well, you may know Eric with your previous calls with Otangelo and that stuff. Unfortunately, here it's a real mess. And I started I deconverted kind of recently, and I started researching about all the chaos that is here, and the data that we have. More than 67,000 new churches around here.
Wow.
Because our system here like our IRS, let's say, for you to create a church is actually really simple and fast. In fact, there is a known fact that there was a guy that actually made the church nacionais de Hanzo, like Hanzo Nationals or something, that is based on a video game, on a character of a video game. And actually he didn't take it all the way and made crimes or something, but he got to legalize it, and he would be able to sell merchandising about the game. He could get tax exemption, and it was actually the government gave him all the documents that he needed to turn this into a real religion.
That sounds nuts.
Crazy.
It's
completely madness around here. And
is there?
Then you can understand what happened with our president and how he can urges people to do a lot of crazy stuff because people just aren't skeptic. They are accustomed to have someone with authority telling them what to do, and they simply go along.
It's interesting that. Yeah, I mean it's interesting because I don't follow the.
I'd like to know your opinion on this. So how you see this state, because
Felipe, can you hear us?
One of my intentions was like
Felipe?
to tell people that
Felipe?
Actually.
Hello?
Please don't let other places get to
Felipe?
the point where you got here.
That's weird.
I don't think he can hear
really
us.
A mess.
Hey, Felipe, can you hear us? Hello?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, can you hear us? Felipe? Hello? No wonder. Here, we'll drop him. Felipe, sorry, for some reason there's an audio issue.
I can hear you.
Yeah,
not sure what happened.
That's okay. Feel free to call back. Don't know what's going on. We were trying. And people are saying that the audio...
People can't hear us either.
People can't hear us at all?
Sounds
Testing
like someone
one.
can hear the caller, but not...
Hit main shot. And go. Testing, test, 1, 2. Yeah, it's not sending audio.
That's very weird.
That is incredibly weird.
I think you clicked something before. Can you make sure that's off?
What did I click?
You used this thingy, the mix thingy.
Yeah, you want to close it? So they were saying the audio was crackling. Mm-hmm. And so Mixtools is just a program that runs in the background to record a copy of everything.
Yeah, my concern is that kind of jacked things up.
I was actually thinking that the audio was crackling really bad. And so it may have just dropped out.
No, it had fixed before.
Oh, hold on. They can hear everything.
We can hear. All right, we can hear everyone. I'm very confused now.
YouTube, there was crackle. That is gone. They can hear us.
Still hear all three. We can hear. Callers can't.
Okay.
All right.
Well, people are saying the audio is fine.
Looks like callers can't hear us, but the stream can.
Okay. That's real weird. Let's see if we can move forward and see if callers can hear us. Can we talk to Shane?
Yeah. Let's see if Shane can hear.
Yeah.
If not, then we'll have to come up with another thing.
Shane in Oregon. You're live with Eric and V. Can you hear us? Shane. Going once.
Or returning him to queue. Clearly
right.
They can't hear.
We'll take one more and then...
The call screeners are saying they can't hear us over the line. It's not an individual issue.
Ah, got it. Okay. Well, then for people... Allow. Testing 1, 2. All right, we'll see if the call screeners can hear us now. It looks like something happened with the call-in studio, but hopefully that has changed. In the meantime...
Okay, they can hear us now.
Oh, good.
Cool. All right.
Shane,
we're bringing you back on. Shane.
You know, it's been a while since we've had like a real tech issue like that.
Yeah. Shane, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can.
Yay!
Thank the butt unicorn.
Hell yeah.
How's it going, man?
Pretty good. How are you guys doing?
Doing well.
Doing good. Minute of panic there, but you know, we're better now. What'd you call about?
I wanted to talk about the nature of justification and I guess what your concepts of justification are, because I hold to something called process reliabilism, and I could kind of like get into that and what my concept of justification is. But I'm curious, what are both of your takes on what it means for a belief to be justified?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
I think in the context of like philosophically justifying a thing, for me, the definition is very much can it be rationally defended? And that is not an objective thing, that is a subjective thing. So something can be justified within a worldview as long as it is using the internal rationale of that worldview. So if you believe that butt unicorns exist and you come up with a theory of gravity that hinges on butt unicorns existing and it is internally consistent, then in that internal consistent worldview, you have a justified reason. The problem then becomes, how do we marry justification with a goal of objectivity and a goal of transcending individual worldviews and individual rationales to talk about what is true? And that's kind of where the JBT theory of truth comes from, is this idea of, okay, well, we know that you can justify something within your worldview, but is that thing justified in reality? And I think that's where we come up against the bigger question that I think we're still wrestling with. So that's kind of what I think of when I approach justification.
I'm similar, but I feel like if I jump in at this point, you won't have the chance to engage with V's concept on it. So if you wanted to respond, Shane.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. Yeah. So I like your concept of justification. My concept of justification is compatible with yours, so I want to put that forward and see.
Yeah.
Well, I guess if you agree on the compatibility. I do want to say it sounds like your epistemology is more of a coherentist epistemology, while mine is more of a foundationalist one.
Okay.
But that doesn't leave the concepts of justification incompatible. So I hold to something called process reliabilism, and so for me, what it means for a person to be justified in a belief means that they have to arrive at the belief through a justification conferring process, which obviously raises the question, what does it take for a belief forming process or methodology to be justification conferring? And I think that the answer to that is it needs to be reliable, and that is to say it has to have a tendency to produce true beliefs. Basically, what this means is that it would produce true beliefs significantly more often than false ones. Now, to be reliable doesn't have to mean perfect. So you could be justified in a belief without your justification being perfect. But
right.
I think that to be justified in your belief means that you arrived at the belief through a methodology, which was a process which had a tendency to produce more true than false beliefs.
So you're talking about justification not in terms of the truth claim, but rather the process by which you get to the truth claim.
Correct.
Okay. I kind of like that, actually.
Yeah, my concept of knowledge, and I'm actually giving a speech in October called What is Knowledge? But I hold that justification, truth, and belief are necessary conditions for knowledge, but that they aren't sufficient conditions for knowledge. So that there are 4 or 5 total conditions for knowledge, which would be jointly sufficient. But I think that too many people, when they get to the Gettier cases, the Gettier problem, which I could talk about for hours, and you'll have.
I brought it up a couple of weeks ago. I'm in love with the Gettier problem, especially when it comes to like modal ontology and how that absolutely destroys William Lane Craig's cosmological argument.
Absolutely.
But
which, by the way, respects to Edmund Gettier. He actually passed away in March of this year.
Oh, wow, didn't know that.
It's one of those things where it's like I'm actually kind of like happy to be alive, have been alive at the same time as the guy who came up with the famous Gettier problem, the Gettier cases.
I feel the same way about the amazing Randy. I actually got to meet him before he passed, and just super nice guy. But anyway,
great. I'm jealous.
I'm so proud. You know what? I'll tweet out that picture later.
Yeah. So I think, honestly, I like the concept. And Eric, I know you've kind of been taking a back seat on this just to let us have this conversation. But in your view as well, because I want to hear maybe a different perspective. I agree. I think I really like that concept that justified true belief, the belief and like the truth and the justified are different parts of that concept. So there's the true part, whether or not it happens to be true. The justification part doesn't talk about the belief, but rather the process by which you get to the belief. So like if you are justified in using, I can't come up with a concept. Go ahead, Shane.
Well, I was going to say, so if we look at different processes of belief formation, we could look at ones which are intuitively faulty and then ones which are intuitively justification conferring. So if you have faith, confused reasoning, wishful thinking, and then you have, empirical senses, you have logic and reason, you could pretty easily categorize, what processes of belief formation are more reliable.
Well, and, so if I might, can I ask you a couple of questions that might get to why there's a niggling part of me that's not exactly sitting flush with both of you on this?
Go for it.
Sure.
So Shane, it's if I said I was providing rationale, my rationale for a thing, would that be synonymous with providing justification?
Yes, if it is the case that what you're calling a rationale is some belief-forming process which has a tendency to produce true beliefs. So if it's a majority of the time it's true.
Okay, so I appreciate the caveat, and that I think that answers my next question. So what I was going to ask was if that's something that is granted to you, if you present your justification, does somebody grant, okay, that's valid, or are you saying this is valid and here's why? Because if it's something that's granted to you, then I don't know, it's interesting, and I wish we had more time because it's a really, really, really good discussion. I love it. And you've been waiting for a long time and we just didn't, and this happened last time too, didn't it? No, we're spending more time on you, damn it, Shane. Okay.
No, honestly, you guys, we can't take all of you, but if you want to stay on the line and you don't hear from our call screeners, we will take you. We will go over. I understand that a lot of people have other shows they want to watch. If you want to leave at 1, that is totally fine. But we don't really have we've established this artificial stopping point at 1, but we have some really awesome calls that I really want to take today. Yeah,
Shaun in the UK, that's an amazing argument to bring up. Tom in Georgia, that's incredible.
Johnathan, Alabama, I want to take. I want to take Charlie in Illinois. So, there are some people that we definitely are going to take. So, stay on the line if you want to.
Nick in Virginia wants to start a platform. Nick, I think you should call in next week because for people who want to start platforms, I want to make sure that that's out there for everybody who, So, anyway.
Go ahead, Shane. We're going long. Go for it. We're going to be mavericks.
We're doing this. I'm taking off the jacket. I'm rolling up the sleeves. We're gonna do this. Okay.
Fuck it. We'll do it live.
That's right. Damn it. We only do it live. So, so we're talking about justification, right? What is justified? Right. And you're saying that things can only be justified if they reliably and regularly get you to more truth than not truth, correct?
Yes, and then because of the fact that to be reliable doesn't mean perfect, right? Because we granted, so let's look at an example of a reliable belief-producing process. Let's take our empirical senses. Nobody's claiming that they're perfect. We've all been deceived by our own eyes or something like that before, right?
Right. So hold on just a second. I don't want to lose my train on this one, and I just want to kind of make sure that we get through to the end of it. Otherwise, I'm going to lose it halfway through, and I'll be real sad. So given your caveat that something is justified, if you're providing your rationale, right, those things are synonymous, so long as you add that caveat that it needs to repeatedly get you to true things, correct?
Yes. Okay,
cool. So I had a debate about whether or not it is rational to believe, in Christianity. And so when we talked about rationality, what is rational? what they needed to do, they didn't. David Wood instead went on this weird tangent. But what you would want to do as an apologist there is show why you think it's justified. So I get the connection there. I think the problem that I'm trying to work through in my head as y'all are talking is this idea that if somebody is internally consistent in the way they view things, and they show you that justification, you know what? No, it's starting to check out. I guess the only thing is, can you ever be justified in something by yourself?
It sounds like you're conflating justification or justifiedness with coherence. You know, somebody could have a belief which is coherent with other beliefs that they have while still being unjustified in various of those beliefs.
Sure. And I find that to be the case with most religious people I debate.
Right. But I guess if you're, because it sounds like you, I don't even know if I have to say steelman, because usually steelman's where you disagree, but I'll just say steelman for the sake of it. It sounds like you were steelmanning my position, and you were saying, you were understanding that what I'm saying is that for somebody to be justified in a belief, the belief has to have been arrived at a process which was reliable, and reliable means it has to be a process which produces true beliefs a significant proportion of the time, but not 100% of the time, which brings us to the fact that somebody can be justified in a belief and their belief can be false. Right. Which means that even if you're justified in a belief which is true, on that epistemic basis for your justified true belief, you could have been brought to a false one from that epistemic basis. And that brings us to a distinction between whether you knew something or you believed it and got it right by chance. And I think the Gettier problem points out that we could be justified in our beliefs,
Shane,
and even though it be the case that we're justified, it also be the case that we're getting it right by chance. So
Shane, did we just parade all the way around to the Gettier problem? Don't get me wrong, I appreciate it, but yeah, we just went straight back to the Gettier problem. Yeah, I guess I'm right there with you. I feel like that sets up something, and I really want to explore it in myself and really give it time to kind of sink in, because it feels like a justification is only acceptable if you repeat it and other people, kind of grant that, okay, this is justified. But I think that context is incredibly important. I don't think I need other people to see me eat cereal for me to say that I ate cereal this morning. And because of that, the context is different. And so the justification doesn't necessarily need to jump through all those hoops. But maybe that's me being lazy.
It's not jumping through hoops for you to believe that you ate cereal if you arrived at your belief that you ate cereal through your empirical senses, and the majority of beliefs that you've arrived at through the means of your empirical senses have been true beliefs, then you would be justified in your belief that you ate cereal.
Okay, so can I be justified that I saw a ghost last night? I didn't, but if I say that I got up to go to the restroom and there was a ghost, I mean, I'm bringing it in.
It depends on how much information you have.
Well, if I brought it in by my senses.
An incredibly ignorant person, I think that they could be justified in that. They could at the very least be warranted in it. But I think that some people could be justified in a belief in ghosts. I'm not saying that most people who believe in ghosts are justified. Most of them aren't. But I do think a person could be justified in a belief in a ghost.
Right. It just wouldn't maybe be a true belief, but it would still have the justification.
Right. Yeah, because they arrived at the belief through their vision, and their vision is a process, a belief-producing process.
Got it.
Which has a tendency to produce true beliefs.
Okay. So then what would happen, I'm assuming, is that somebody would be like, okay, you are justified in that concept, in saying that you experienced this thing. That is justified. Now, how do we weight that justification against all of the other evidence, and does it outweigh other things? And then you can, it's like just a continuous, it's just a continuous process of evaluating justified beliefs to find which weights more.
Correct. The other important thing that I add is what did the person actually see? Like, if a person saw like what appeared to be a tangible, half see-through human in front of them that they heard and it was talking to them, they would be more justified in their belief than, oh, I saw this shadow out of the corner of my eye and I don't know what caused that shadow. Because a person could have arrived at the belief through, and one part of the belief formation was their vision, but a lot of it was also faulty reasoning. And, you know, logic and reason, you know, if there's such thing as faulty reasoning. So a person who arrived at some belief may have, in fact, used one method, which was justification conferring, such as vision, but then another part of their belief formation may have also been faulty reasoning. So you could have more than one process of formation for a single belief. One of those processes might be justification conferring and the other isn't. And I don't want to go on for hours, so I know you guys want to wrap up and get to another call.
We've got a couple of other people, but Shane, nice. Okay, I like that.
Yeah, I think that's a very reasonable way to parse those three concepts and talk about each of them individually.
And if somebody disagrees, give us a call and tell us why Shane is wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I did want to mention when I kind of like jumped to the Gettier problem again at the end. I was sort of tying in together my concept of justification because it was sort of pointing out.
Oh, it's beautiful.
This concept of justification comports with us having a Gettier problem.
Shane, I see you. I got you, man. Literally, if you didn't do it, I was going to do it. So you're good. Anyway, hey, dude, thank you so much for calling in. It's been a good talk.
Yeah, thanks for taking my call. If we, get another chance to talk, I'd like to talk about something in epistemology known as the sensitivity condition. And I think this might be the fourth condition for knowledge after justification, truth, and belief, which might be sufficient for knowledge. But that's a conversation that would take hours to get into. So another time.
Well, or possibly another format. I think that V was thinking about Twitch streaming. And maybe I could Twitch stream. I'm not sure. We've got to find a good format.
Yeah,
for
we'll figure it out because this is very interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway.
Hell yeah.
Take
All right,
care,
well,
man.
you guys be safe. Take care.
Thanks.
You too.
You too.
Bye. V, you know that we're going to need to do clipping and thumbnails for so many calls this week.
I know, but it's worth it. We ask people to call and then they call and we need to take them.
I know, and they're really good callers.
They are. All right, can we go with Charlie?
Sure. Charlie in Illinois. You're live with Eric and V.
Hi, V. Hi, Eric.
Hello.
Hey, Charlie. Doing good. We're over time, but we want to talk to people, and we've got a couple of great callers after you. But we wanted to go on your topic. So you wanted to ask if the future is deterministic?
Yeah, I just wanted to get your opinions on that. I did talk to you guys about 2 years ago on the topic, so I kind of wanted to call, see if your opinions had changed and kind of give a little follow-up to that conversation.
Sure.
Well, thanks for calling back.
So my view on determinism, just so that people follow with that, is some people view the progress of time the way that you would view dominoes knocking each other down, that one thing causes another, and this kind of process of causality means that if we were to rewind time and play it back, everything would happen the exact same way. And because of that, everything that will happen was going to happen because we live in a physical world that is kind of on this causal domino chain. Is that about right? Or how you view it?
I think that's about right.
Okay. And do you think the future is deterministic?
Hello?
Hello, can you hear us?
Yes, sorry. I did not think that... Sorry, I didn't hear that it was pointed to me. I thought you said V and I was waiting for V's response.
Got it. No worries. No, do you think that the future is deterministic?
I don't know. I think it might be, but I don't really have any reason to say one way or the other on the subject.
Okay.
All right.
V, what about you?
Well, I mean, I think we're going to be all in agreement here. Like, I don't really have a reason to think one or the other. I think that practically, right now, it makes sense to act as though we had free will, because I don't really know how the world would function if we didn't think that we were instigating our own destiny, for lack of a better term. But at the same time, on a molecular level, on a physical level, like, is that the case? I don't see a reason why it would be, but I also have not seen definitive evidence to the contrary either. So it really feels unfalsifiable at this point, not because it's claiming something that is inherently infalsifiable, but rather we don't have the capability yet to falsify it or not.
It sounds like you jumped from determinism to free will.
No, I think that probably based on what I've read and understood, the determinism is more likely from, like, again, this biological molecular standpoint. But practically, as somebody who does appreciate the pragmatic element in things, I don't think it would be useful for me to say, oh, it's all determined, so I'm just going to not act as though I had free will. Even if is that even a choice? Like, can I not act as though I have free will? I don't know.
Okay. I wasn't drawing a knot from it, actually. I was just like, okay. I think where I stand, Charlie, is I'm kind of with you there. I don't know. There are things I do know, just like V said. I think we're meat robots. I don't think we have some ghost piloting the machine. That said, I think that if there was a non-deterministic world, it's only because of randomness. Like, I think if we were to reverse time and play it back again, including just natural interactions between things, that we may not have the same world again. Mm-hmm. And I think that that changes can be random, and if there's randomness, then there's not pure determinism. But that doesn't get into what V was talking about, free will, because I definitely don't think we have free will.
No, either way, whether it's all determined and laid out or whether everything is chaos, both negate the concept of free will.
Well, I don't think it's all chaos either. I just think that
I heard Charlie go.
Yeah, Charlie, what do you got? And then we'll skip on forward to the next call.
My thought on that is, even if the universe is deterministic, like just a domino analogy, that even if it is determined what our brain states are from the beginning of the universe, I think we still have the choice to do what we do. I say choice a little loosely here in this conversation.
Sure.
But I think we still decide what we want to do, even if it is already predicated on previous facts or states of the universe, that if everything played out the same, we would make the same decision. I think that decision is still ultimately ours, even if we wouldn't make it the same over 1,000 million tests of the same state. As long as we didn't know that there were multiple tests, I think we would, and even if we still made the same decision, I think that's still technically our decision.
Well, I mean, I think at that point you get to the concept of decision ultimately implying free will in the way we use it now, but decision could just mean making the inevitable choice to do a thing.
I guess so. The one of the best responses that I've ever gotten to this, and then we'll move on to the next call, I think, was from Jamie. Actually, he and I had a long night where we were talking about determinism and free will. And he said, I don't think we're phrasing this, or I don't think we're framing this the right way. Because whether or not you're making a choice to commit a crime or not commit a crime, the consequences of those actions remain the same. And so for you to do, like V was saying, well, it doesn't matter what I do because I was going to do it anyway. The consequences for that action remains the same, whether you had free will or not free will.
Right.
Whether or not you actually had a choice, the consequences remain the same. And so that consideration goes into the algorithm. That consideration goes into everything that's part of making those choices. And so whether or not if you're thinking, well, should I kill somebody? Should I not kill somebody? Do I have free will? Was it going to happen anyway? Whether or not you thought you had free will, you're still going to go to jail for the rest of your life if you do.
Yeah,
So,
well, that's the thing. I think in that case, and like focusing on the impact of an action, regardless of whether or not it was ultimately able to be avoided, is it makes a really good case for a less retributive kind of justice system, right? Because we don't need to punish people, we just need to make sure that we protect other people from them if necessary, right? So that would entail, even if we didn't decide ultimately, okay, free will is a myth and we're all determined to do what we do, even if we don't get there, I think that makes a really good case for, in the event that that is true, focusing more on rehabilitation and on just removing people maybe who would harm society from it without that additional like retributive justice concept.
Yeah, if you view the mind as a program and there's something wrong there, then I know it sounds icky, the whole reprogramming thing, but if you're behaving in a way that is dangerous to society and to yourself, then if getting therapy and working through that's going to get you better, then
I will never forget the day that I was listening to the podcast recordings of the Great Classes Plus series by Dr. David Kyle Johnson, and that concept of reprogramming and the morality behind that, if indeed determinism was real. Where, like, I legitimately remember where I was on the street, on High Street in Columbus, Ohio, when that hit me for the first time.
It was like, holy
that
shit.
was a eureka moment right there.
Yeah?
I was like, oh my God.
Nice.
This is nice. All right.
Charlie, thank you for calling in. This has been fun.
Yeah, definitely glad to call in again, and I might call in some other week that I am available.
Awesome.
To talk about the second topic that we talked about 2 years ago.
Sounds good. Thank you for following us over and finding us. And there are still people who haven't found out where to find us. So if you get the chance and it's safe to do so, share us out, man. We love talking to people that we've had conversations with before.
Awesome.
Definitely will. And I only found out that you guys had started this show like a few weeks ago. So I'm glad that I did find you again.
Nice.
Us
Good.
too.
We're glad you made it.
Thanks
Take
so
care,
much,
buddy.
Charlie.
Oh, okay. So do we want Johnathan or Shaun or Tom? Who are we taking next?
All right, we got two more. We gotta pick two of the three.
I think Johnathan and Shaun.
Yeah, I think so.
We
Tom,
can take Tom and the
love this topic. Also love the one that you called in about initially. So whichever one you want to pursue next week, absolutely call back for real.
And remind the call screener that you were on the line. We'll make sure that we give you priority.
Yes, indeed.
All right. In the meantime,
let's talk with Shaun.
Shaun in the UK. Shaun, it's.
Let me click the buttons first.
Sorry.
There we go.
Shaun in the UK can hear us.
Hi, yes, I can.
Hey, so we don't have as much time.
Thank you for my call.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we're running long, but God, we'd have so many callers and good callers, and we didn't want to wait a week. So that's understandable. Okay.
We didn't want to wait to talk to you.
No. So it says in the notes that you. I'm sorry. We're going to be a little more at a clip just because of timing, but it says in the notes that you think that infinity can be a quantity. So first question, I guess, why is that? Where does that fit into the conversations that we have on the show? And then once we get there, why do you think that?
Okay. Well, there is at least one prominent figure in the atheist community that says that infinity cannot be a quantity, namely Matt Dillahunty. And it's a bit of a pet peeve of mine that he keeps bringing this up. So I thought that I would call one of the prominent atheist call-in shows to sort things out.
Okay. Well, we definitely can't speak for Matt, and I don't even. So, but
we wouldn't want to. Like we're our own people, but we are also very interested in this topic and interested in not repeating what might be a bad talking point. So go for it.
Yeah, Shaun. From what I understand about infinity, from what I was taught, I don't feel like I'm arguing as much as I'm just trying my best to remember high school. Well, in some college classes, but from what I was taught, infinity is a concept, that it is basically an equation. Or you would look at it the same way that you would look at an equation, because it's not set. It's just the idea of forever or infinite. You know what I mean?
Well, there are many different kinds of infinity, and the one that I like to bring up is countable infinity. In Book 9 of Euclid's Elements, so this was a few thousand years ago now, Proposition 20 proves that there are infinitely many prime numbers.
Okay.
And if you want, I could go through the proof.
No. I actually am on board so far.
Okay.
So when you're saying infinity is a quantity, though, it feels like there's another step that needs to happen here, because you're talking about countable numbers.
Let me qualify it a little bit. Infinity can be a quantity, but not every quantity is. Not every infinity can be a quantity. So the different kinds of infinity.
Can I offer a way to rephrase it?
Sure.
Would you say that? Could I say, instead of saying infinity can be a quantity, that infinity can, that means not always, but can be quantitative? There's a difference.
Yes, that's a better way of putting it.
Because a quantity implies a set, rigid, thing. And due to the nature of infinity, I don't think a quantity, I think there's a bit of a disconnect, and it's probably just linguistic, but it's enough to make my brain fizz, like just burn out. But if we can agree that infinity can be quantitative, that countable numbers, or the set of all countable numbers, or the set of the infinite prime numbers, right? That you can actually have discrete quantities within that subset, but it's still infinity, right? Is that a good kind of middle ground there?
Yeah.
Hey! All right.
So
cheers. I'm having a drink, and
that clears things up.
I'm gonna buy myself a cake. Okay, so
I feel like a better pun here would be a pie.
Oh God, V. Oh no. Okay. So Shaun, if we take into account linguistics, I think I may have to settle on, I don't agree that infinity is or can be a quantity. When I think of like a box of apples, right? There's a quantity in there.
Okay.
It doesn't, but if you can say it's quantitative, what is the best way to pronounce that word? Quantitative?
Quantitative.
Yeah. Oh God, the English language is terrible. Then yeah, we're good. What about you, V? What do you think?
Okay.
I think that I'm going to sit on my pie pun and not say anything else.
Shaun, hopefully that helps. I think we're in agreement.
Yeah, I think.
Okay, cool.
Yay!
As always, there are multiple ways to use words, and using absolutes when talking about a definition of a word is generally a bad idea, regardless of what the word is, especially if there are known multiple uses that can mean different things and can be used in different ways. So in the future, if someone says infinity cannot be a quantity, the next question is, which definition of infinity are you using?
Well, and could we rephrase it as quantitative versus a quantity?
Right.
Because I think we both agreed that slight difference is the difference between us agreeing and not agreeing.
That's fair. Good point. All right. Thank you so much, Shaun.
Thank you, Shaun.
You're welcome. Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you.
Bye.
That made me happy. I don't know why math makes me happy nowadays. I hated math most of my life. I still feel like I hate math, but talking about philosophy and math for some reason has just, it's just good.
All right, we've got one more call on the line for today.
And then we've got more after the call, so don't run just yet. But
guys, seriously, we are still getting people calling in to talk to us. Like, we are still weeding through new people. If you want to talk to us, we want to talk with you.
Yeah.
If we need to extend this show and make it 2 hours long, if that's what we have to do, we will do that and be okay with it. If you want to talk to us early, though, that is when we are slowest. That is when the first few people start trickling in. So call early. Call at 11:30 Central Time, and we will be able to take your call.
that's right. That means that our fine-tuning caller who's in the screening room right now, you need to call early next week. We'd love to talk to you about why you believe in fine-tuning.
Absolutely. All right. Last call is from Johnathan in Alabama.
V,
Hi there.
You've been Johnathan. Hello. One
Jonathan.
second, really quick. V, you have been killing it with the lower thirds today.
Thank you.
Like, you were so on it.
I have one job.
You have lots of them, actually.
That's true. I do have lots of jobs, but this is my first right now.
Anyway, Johnathan, you had a question. Should I read it, or do you want to present it?
Go ahead and read it. It's a good springboard.
Sure. So the way that it's phrased here is, how much responsibility do I have to make sure that organizations don't have skeletons in the closet? And is it a moral imperative?
Yep.
So do you want to provide a little more context before we dive in, or do you just want to get our takes on the general idea?
A little background. I'm not trying to throw shade at any one organization in particular in this moment, going through anything in particular. So, if there's anything going on in the chat about that, that is not what I'm doing.
Okay.
But I've seen organizations in the past that I would have considered supporting ending up having, quite frankly, terrible, outrageously terrible people who I don't want representing me as any sort of humanist or as an atheist, just coming out. I'm sure we all remember the David Silverman
That's what I was going to, yeah.
allegations. And even something more innocuous, just in language, Michael Sherlock from the Atheist Alliance International. And, how do I determine I'm, in a way, supporting the right people's front of Judea?
The right people.
I get it.
Have you
It's a Monty Python.
Yeah.
I don't. Oh God, it's been so long.
The Judean people's front, the people's front of Judea.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's been so long. I apologize to everyone. I know I'm gonna get shit in the live chat. Okay.
Well, I've been watching significantly less Monty Python since John Cleese has made some statements. But yeah.
Right? Again, it's like, why?
He's gonna start a show now.
About why cancel culture is bad. Yeah.
Called Cancel Me.
Yeah. I know.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be so terrible.
And every single other geriatric white asshole is creating shows to tell you why they can't create shows anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, before I start crying, let's move on.
I'm sorry.
No, I love John Cleese. Do it. I should have never met Bill Nye either, but that's a story for another day or for a Patreon thing.
All right,
anyway,
Eric, what are your thoughts here?
So it totally depends on where you are in the ladder, I think. I think when it comes to you as a potential donor, making sure that an organization doesn't have skeletons in its closet, it depends on a lot of different things. Number one, it depends on the skeletons.
Oh.
That's okay. So, for example, I'm going to pick on FFRF right now because FFRF is doing great and they're a nice, safe place to point at.
I like them.
Yeah, let's say you wanted to donate to a fund that's specifically to pay for lawyers that are standing up for people who are having their rights ripped away because of religious laws being put into place, right? You donate to that, but you find out that someone in the front office, was a bad spouse or something. I think that really have to contextualize what's going on and what the organization's doing and whether or not they're, did they deal with the event already? If they have dealt with it, did they deal with it to a degree that you're comfortable with? If you're not comfortable with it, don't donate. If they came to their attention and they're just like, it's not important, don't donate. If they don't know about it and it's still coming out, be charitable. Give them the opportunity to live up to the best versions of themselves. And then also see if they fix things. Let's say they didn't do it right the first time around, but they realized that they screwed up and they really needed to fix it. And so then they did fix it. They got rid of the problematic, people or whatever the case is. And so they sufficiently made amends. Don't treat them like a pariah. We have a community that we're building, and ousting people forever is a really rough way to build a community. And so, don't let them off the hook. But, in the David Silverman case, if they had not let David Silverman go right away, I would understand not wanting to donate, But once they did let him go and say, hey, we're going to be moving in a different direction, I'd say, yeah, okay, you know what? I appreciate that. And I appreciate that you guys, and I would. That's me. What do you think, Bea?
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on this. I think it isn't a moral imperative necessarily. I think that it is a judgment call that is very personal and very much up to the individual. For example, there are people that I know and love and care about and know are good people who do support organizations that I will never support again. And I'm not going to judge another person for how they have weighted various evidence and, various stories. Like, I'm not going to do that. That is their prerogative. And as long as they are not being abusive themselves or perpetuating any form of harm against others, I have no problem with them, right? So for me, it really does become an individual basis. What makes you feel best, right? We don't have arbiters sitting there being like, that's a good thing, that's a bad thing, unless it's very clear in black and white and not producing positive, environments for people or causing people harm. It really is an individual case of, is this where I want to put my money? And if you are seeing things that give you pause, or if you are seeing things that maybe make you question whether or not your money is being used well, that is your prerogative to ask for more clarification. And if you don't get it, or if the clarification is not sufficient for you, then that's your decision to make. If you get clarification and you're like, oh, that makes perfect sense. Okay, cool. Then I don't care, Well,
and one last caveat to kind of add on there.
Yeah.
Just as a donor, let's say you weren't aware of the back-end stuff that was going on at Recovering from Religion. Not Recovering.
Oh, God, no, nothing's wrong with Recovering from Religion.
Is actually the most spot-free, beautiful, please donate to RFR. But,
I do love them.
Yeah, me too. But American Atheists, there we go. If that stuff was going on, you had no idea, you donated, I'm not going to say, hey, you behaved in an immoral way. I'm not going to hold something against you. I don't think you have that necessarily that responsibility. I think as a, promoter, right? If you've got a YouTube show or podcast or, a following on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook or whatever the case is, I think you have a responsibility to your viewers to research, even if you would not have researched before.
Yeah, I think that is a great point.
Yeah. As an individual, I don't think you're a moral dude. I don't think that, donating and not knowing a thing would be immoral. I think that, but I think that if you are promoting something, you do have a responsibility to look into it.
And that's kind of goes right back to the beginning of the conversations, the beginning of this episode, where we're talking about people like Sam Harris or Richard Dawkins, these leaders in the community who are, without doing that research, charitably, assuming they haven't done the research as opposed to, yes, I did the research and I agree with it, are promoting people or organizations or ideas that are harmful. If they were just some random old guy, like, okay, cool, Grandpa, you do you. But if you are a leader in a community, you do have that secondary layer of responsibility. And I think that's a beautiful point to bring up. That's absolutely accurate.
Thank you.
I think I've said this before on a different call, but I do believe that sufficiently sustained ignorance, is indistinguishable from malice.
Exactly.
This is true.
I agree.
If you are continually donating to an organization, you have no idea what they're doing. I don't know if it's malice, but it is definitely irresponsible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And I guess this comes naturally, I suppose. I hope that this is a natural conclusion to this call, which is if you see us promoting an organization or an idea that you have evidence is harmful, let us know so we can go and look at that evidence and come away either saying, no, here's why we continue to support this thing, or thank you. We had a situation the other week where we put out a clip with some imagery that would have been a problem internationally that we didn't even realize.
Nope.
And the second that someone brought it to our attention, we took the clip down, we redid it. We're like, oh, good. Thank you. Bring that stuff up. We want to make sure that we are holding ourselves to the same standard that we hold others to.
Yeah. Johnathan, thank you for the call, man.
You're quite welcome. You just gave me an idea for another one. I'll save it for another time, though.
Good.
All right.
Good. Love it.
All right. Thanks so much, Johnathan.
Thank you, man.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. So I know we've got some live chats. That's amazing.
Super chats.
Super chats.
We are crackling again, apparently.
Yes, for people who are wondering why the crackle.
I'm wondering why the crackle.
So I believe it's an encoding issue between the program that we're using to send our video to YouTube. And so I actually just today started a program in the background that was going to do a recording that would make it clean. But I thought that's what broke things earlier, so I turned it off.
Oh, no.
I know. But there's not too much we can do. We are working on it. And basically what that's going to mean in the future is running a program that's going to keep a local version of the audio that will not have the crackle. And then the clips that we put out that week won't have the crackle. We're doing our best to leave the live episodes up, largely because we want to be held accountable. I mean, the thing is, we make mistakes, and that's okay. We cop to those mistakes. We say, hey, here's how we're going to do better. Here's what we're going to do about it. And you've been an amazing community about it, and I think that that's important. It's important not to try and, cut out or clip out problems, because we're just doing our best, and we want you to follow us for the ride.
Absolutely.
All right, that said.
Also, everybody in the live chat, we know the audio is crackling. If it gets better, let us know, but also we're painfully aware at this point. All right, let's go through super chats really quick so we can wrap up.
Okay. Somebody in the live chat, there were a couple of people who said a couple of things really quick that I wanted to address. One of them is, if you hadn't watched, yes, we are recently engaged. We're not yet married, but very excited about it. I just addressed the audio issue, and the last one I forgot, so I'll have to get there later.
Okay, sounds good. The first one is from Shaun the Skeptic.
Hey!
He says, genuine skepticism comes through habituation.
Cheers. Salvatore says, hey guys, didn't call in today, but because hunkered down for IDA.
Hurricane Ida.
Hurricane Ida. Oh my goodness, that's the other thing. Yes.
Yeah.
So there is a group that's working on trying to help people out there. The hurricane is freaking real, you guys. And V, could you read the next one while I find
Absolutely.
that? Because
Salvatore, stay safe. Thank you for taking precautions. Everybody who can't afford to evacuate or who is stuck, caring for people who maybe can't, please be safe. We are thinking about you, and let us know if there's anything that we can do to help. Holly K, $5 says, great show. Some of us are wondering when we will see SG Kitty. Any updates?
Yes, we are planning on adopting a cat, and I'd like to do that soon in the next couple of weeks.
We're going to be doing that next month. So you will be seeing SG Kitty probably more than you want. Probably we're going to just make them the host, and that will just be the show.
Yes. So Cajun Navy Relief, CajunNavyRelief.com. It was sent over as an organization that's doing a lot of good. From what I saw, from the little research I was able to do, it definitely looks like it checks out. If it doesn't and you have information, let us know so that we can, adjust what we're saying, given the conversation we just had. But if you want to help out and you're wondering, well, what the hell am I going to do with the hurricane, check out Cajun Navy Relief.
Beautiful. And
okay, Anne says there's an SG kitty we need to see.
Oh, you will.
Oh, yes.
Oh, you will.
Not yet, but yes. Hashtag fangirl. So excited to have talked to you. This is Al from Australia, who can figure out how to buy the chair on Amazon. Oh, Al. Thank you.
Thank you. My chair is wonderful and comfy. Al, our caller, bought us this chair because we were borrowing a second chair from someone else, and I didn't have anywhere to sit. So this is all thanks to Al that this looks as good as it does. Thank you, Al.
The stickers.
Oh, the stickers.
Do you want to take the next one? I'll grab it.
Sure. I believe another Al sent us some amazing stickers of our logo that he had made or ordered and sent us a bunch. So we are going to be taking those to our next events, hopefully Faithless Forum in November. Both Eric and I will be speaking at that convention, and we will have stickers courtesy of a fan who made them, and holy crap, they look amazing. Yeah.
Don't show the envelope because I don't want to dox them, but
they're incredible. They're absolutely incredible. Look at that.
Yay, thank you.
Look at that. That is sleek. That is beautiful. I am in love with them. Thank you, Al.
We also had a birthday present for the two of us sent over.
From Johnathan, someone else who called in today.
Yeah, this is incredibly sweet. I'm just amazed that people are doing that.
We only get to our PO box like once a month, so every month we have a little bit of a beautiful little surprise.
Yeah, and maybe we can tweet out the PO box and
absolutely.
Get all that out.
Jonathan Fuller has a request for you, Eric.
Here's $5. Eric, please never use the term baby butter on air again. I think I just did.
I died. Jacob Moreno donated $50 and says, Brandon from Arizona convinced me to donate to y'all. V was in so much pain. I hope this makes it better. Also, congrats on the engagement.
Yay! Thank you. Chimp3 says, Angel Gabriel appeared to me and told me Brandon is a perv. He prophesied that I would send you $5. Hallelujah! Thank you, Chimp3.
Dante Verona donated $20 and says, ever done this before? Go to Wikipedia and search the year you were born. Scroll down to the month of your birth just to see what was going on in the world. That's some neat stuff. What do you find? I've actually done that before, and very little actually happened except for two things. One, there were multiple earthquakes in various locations on the globe. And in multiple countries, they reported a very strange ringing in the air that sent some people to the hospital with like nosebleeds and migraines. And then I was born. So,
Checks out.
Fun story there.
Hashtag V's the Antichrist.
So that's Satan DNA.
Nat Unsub, great haircut V. Also glad the stream is longer.
Yay! And Keith says, hope this isn't too late. I wish I could call and say why I think knowledge in the terms of JTV is unattainable and may not be useful. After show? We probably won't be doing an after show today since we went so long, but definitely call in next week because I think I agree with you.
Yeah. C. Martin also donated, but had a thumbs up.
Little thumbs up button.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. This has been a ton of fun, and what a long month. But we're glad you stuck in with us.
Absolutely.
And, well, anything else?
I think, I just want to end
before we go, yes. Until next time.
Until next time, you guys. May the butt unicorn bestow upon you all the magical rainbows from its blessed orifices.
Amen.
Pony up.